Then I gave her a plastic one. Her reaction went viral. And now she's begging me to fix it. I'm a 32-year-old man, and I just ended my engagement in the most public way I could design. It was either that or let my life dissolve into a never-ending expense report labeled relationship. It began subtly, so subtly I dismissed it as a quirk. When I met Megan, 29, she was radiant, vibrant, motivated, someone who made you feel like you were lucky just to be in her orbit. We dated for 3 years, and for most of that time, I believed I had found the one. I'm a project manager for a construction firm. I earn well, but I'm practical. I build solid foundations in my work, and I want the same in my life. Megan's foundations, however, seemed increasingly unstable. Her social media, once a lighthearted scrapbook of our shared memories, gradually evolved into a curated showroom for designer labels and luxury lifestyles. When I'd raise an eyebrow, she'd shrug it off with, "You have to project success to attract success, Jeremy." Her mother, Cheryl, wasn't nearly as subtle. She often made cutting jokes about my reliable sedan or my habit of saving rather than splurging. Megan would chuckle nervously and change the subject. I'd already been planning the proposal. For our anniversary, I had booked a private room at a stunning restaurant she loved. I'd saved around $10,000 and had found a timeless sapphire ring, elegant and meaningful. I thought she, the woman I fell in love with, would treasure it. Then, 3 weeks ago, a message lit up my phone, the message that changed everything. BW. Mom and I were looking at the rings her friend's daughters got. Just so we're on the same page, I expect a $50,000 wedding ring minimum. Think of it as an investment in our future. A symbol of your commitment. We don't want our friends thinking you're not serious, right? I read it once. Then again. My heart didn't break, it clenched. The words investment, her friends, they echoed in my skull like alarms. This wasn't about us. It was a transaction. A performance for people I didn't even know. Every red flag I gently ignored now stood straight up, flapping wildly in the wind. I spent an hour writing, deleting, and rewriting angry responses. Then a chilling calm settled over me. This wasn't a discussion. It was an unveiling. I replied with just 6 words. "You'll get what you deserve." She sent back a flurry of champagne and heart emojis. She thought I was in. That moment birthed the plan. It wasn't revenge, it was a test. A truth serum. I needed to know if the woman I loved still existed underneath the gold-dusted facade. The toast. I repurposed the restaurant reservation into a party, telling friends and family that I'd be making a special toast to celebrate our relationship. Everyone came, her parents, cousins, my best friend Keith, who knew everything and came armed with a camera. The day before, I walked into a corner store and bought a 25-cent plastic ring from a gumball machine. Driving to the restaurant, my stomach twisted with doubt. Was this too cruel? Should I just end it quietly? Then I remembered the text. It wasn't a mistake. It was a manifesto. She wasn't confused. She was entitled. At the restaurant, Megan was glowing, the center of attention. Cheryl was already boasting about what a power couple we were. After dinner, I stood with a glass in hand and began my toast. I spoke about love, honesty, and valuing a partner not for what they provide, but for who they are. Megan's smile tensed. She sensed something. Then I knelt down. Gasps filled the room. Cameras pointed at us. "Megan," I said, voice steady, "you wanted a ring that symbolizes my commitment, a ring that reflects our future together." I opened the velvet box. Inside was the gumball ring, a huge, tacky plastic stone shining under the restaurant lights. Silence. Megan stared, frozen. Confusion turned to shock. Shock to horror. "What is this?" she whispered, trembling. "It's what you deserve," I replied. Her composure shattered. "Are you kidding me?" she shrieked. "A plastic ring? Is this some kind of joke? This is what you think I'm worth?" She wasn't just angry. She was crushed. Humiliated. "I gave you 3 years of my life," she screamed. She smacked the box, sending the ring skittering across the floor. She shoved the table, rattling glasses and drawing stunned silence. Cheryl leapt up, screaming at me. Through it all, Keith filmed, steady as ever. I stood, calm, clear. "Thank you for being honest," I said to the room. Then I walked out into the night, into a new life. Going viral. An hour later, Keith sent me the video. It was messy.
Raw.
Real. I posted it on YouTube with the title, "Fiancée demands $50,000 ring, gets 25 cents won instead." Within days, it exploded, 3 million views and counting. Meghan and her family launched into damage control. They painted me as emotionally abusive, manipulative, and controlling. Her cousin even posted a long, teary Facebook rant accusing me of punishing Meghan for being ambitious. For a couple of days, it worked. Comment sections were split. Team Meghan began to trend. It was brutal. I'm a private man. Seeing strangers argue over my character was exhausting. I barely slept. Then Cheryl left me a voicemail. 3 minutes of venom.
Threats.
Legal warnings. But then the tide turned. Internet sleuths started digging. They uncovered Meghan's old blog, guides on how to date up and score expensive gifts. They found Pinterest boards filled with billionaire fantasy life images. Her own online presence unraveled her narrative. I stayed silent. I didn't need to post the texts, the demands, the $150,000 wedding budget spreadsheet. I let her bury herself. Still, the quiet moments were the hardest. When the outrage faded, I was left with the ghost of a 3-year relationship. This wasn't a victory. It was an amputation. Necessary, but still deeply painful. Knock at the door. 1 week later, my boss Roger called me into his office. "Jeremy," he said, closing the door. "Cheryl called. She made serious accusations about your mental health and character." My stomach dropped. I calmly explained about the financial pressure, the manipulation, the video. Roger just nodded. "Your personal life is yours. But once it spills into this company, it becomes mine. Keep it clean. Handle it. If they call again, we'll let legal handle it. Are we clear?" It wasn't warm, but it was fair. 2 nights later, there was a knock at my door. I looked through the peephole. Meghan. She looked wrecked. "Jeremy, please," she sobbed. "They're going to fire me. Everyone is laughing.
Please take the video down.
Just tell them it was a prank." Her voice cracked. No remorse.
Just panic.
"There's nothing to help with," I said coldly. "You created this. You humiliated me," she snapped. "A 25-cent ring? You broke-shamed me." "No," I said. I held up a mirror. "I'm sorry you didn't like the reflection." I told her about the folder, the texts, the voicemails, the evidence. Her face went white. She turned and walked away. It was over. The final chapter. Months passed. The chaos died down. Meghan lost her job, officially terminated after the internal review. Her reputation in marketing was unrecoverable. She moved back in with her parents. Cheryl and her family went silent. They sent one cease and desist letter. My lawyer sent back a calm reply with an invitation to face harassment countersuits, complete with exhibits. We never heard from them again. I sold the apartment. It was haunted by memories. I bought a small condo and used the rest for a fixer-upper cabin far from the city. Rebuilding it from the ground up became therapy. Just like my life. I stayed away from dating, took time to learn the difference between real love and transactional affection. Then I met Alice. At a hardware store, of all places. We were both looking for wood stain. She's an architect. We talked for an hour about load-bearing walls and foundation beams. Eventually, I told her the story. She listened, then said simply, "That must have been incredibly painful. I'm glad you stood up for yourself." No judgment. No pity. Just understanding. This isn't a movie. There's no glittering happily ever after. But there is peace. There is clarity. There is the plastic ring still in my drawer with old bolts and screws. A 25-cent reminder that a strong foundation is worth infinitely more than any sparkling facade.